Welcome to the Piece of Me podcast, the place to find different ways to bring enjoyment, simplicity, happiness, and of course, more peace into your life. Life gets busy, noisy, and at times it's messy. I'm here to help you clean things up and put peace back in its place. Each episode, I'll share tips, ideas, and fresh perspectives to help you live your best life. Hi friends, I'm Lexi Lee. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, then welcome back. I'm really glad you're joining me today, and I'd love to talk about journaling and how to get started. So if you're listening to this episode, chances are that you've thought about journaling, but you don't quite know where to start. So I wanted to share a little bit of information on how I got into it and how I find it to be beneficial, and hopefully that will help you. As the intro says, this is all about finding simplicity, bringing enjoyment back into your life, and a little bit of peace. So for me, journaling does that. I wanted to just tell you how I got started doing it. First, I heard a lot of people talking about journaling, and it kind of reminded me of the old days of Dear Diary, where you just sit with this clean page notebook and a pen, and all the thoughts that are in your head just come pouring out on the page. Okay, I think there's some truth to that, but journaling really doesn't have to be about, the person you had a crush on in your science class. It's a little bit different now, but you certainly could write about that person. But it's really just what's going on in your head at this moment. So when you sit down with that journal, what's going through your head? What is going well? What's not going well? And it kind of just helps you process the thoughts that you're experiencing. Another reason why or how I got started into journaling is people also said it was a bit therapeutic. Again, it helps you process the thoughts that you're having or whatever it is that you're going through. Journaling helps you really take a moment to slow down and process the thoughts and the feelings that you're experiencing by taking time to write it out on a piece of paper. It kind of clarifies those thoughts and feelings that you're having. So that's the therapeutic component to it. Another thing that this was something I noticed with myself, that anytime I was having an issue, and there's nothing wrong with this if you do this, I still do this, but if you're having an issue, my go-to was to pick up the phone and call a friend or call a family member. And I was almost looking for them to come to my rescue. And after a while, I noticed that that was my go-to. Pick up the phone as soon as I have an issue, I need somebody to help me. And I realized that I didn't want to show up like that anymore. That it's not someone else's responsibility to make me feel better about what I'm going through. That's something I have to work on. That's something I have to process and work through. So internally, I just thought, this is really something that is up to me. So that was one of the ways I realized I need to start to journal. Another way is it's really a great way to connect with yourself and again, hear the thoughts that are in your head. And I know that sounds silly, like hear the thoughts that are in your head, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on in our heads. And a lot of times in life, the environment that we live in is noisy. The TV, the radio in our car, the phone's going off at work, talking with coworkers, going to a store, just everything. There's noise around us at all times. So when we get a few minutes where it's just some silence or that noise is greatly minimized, that really helps us kind of connect internally to what is going on with us. So that's how I got started, or really why I got started. Now, how I got started is I wanted to pick a nice notebook and a nice pen. And that sounds simple, like, well, of course, sure, that makes a lot of sense. But you're going to have this notebook for a while because you're not going to journal every day, although maybe you will. Sometimes you might journal more than once a day, depending on what's going on. Or sometimes you pick up that journal once a week for the next 6 months to a year. So that notebook is going to be with you for a while. So pick a style and a notebook that works for you, that you like, that you want to pick up and write inside. Again, I know that sounds a little like corny, But for me, I also like to journal really everywhere I go. And I don't mean in public, but I take my journal with me when I travel. So at night, like before bed, I'll actually journal before sleep. I tend to journal first thing in the morning, kind of as I'm having like my cup of coffee. It's like a way to wake up and kind of reconnect with the day. So for me, I needed a notebook that has a hard cover. And I also needed a notebook that has fairly like regular sized pages. Some notebooks are much smaller, and I was flying through the pages. So for me, I needed a book with larger pages and that hardcover, because if I'm writing, on my lap, I need the pages to stay straight so that my penmanship looks somewhat decent. So pick a notebook you like. There are plenty on Amazon. I will also recommend like Marshall's, Home Goods. They have an awesome, if you don't already know, because you probably do, they have such an awesome stationery aisle with, pads, paper, notebooks, pens, all the fun things. So take a look and see if there's anything down there that you like, that speaks to you, and that will be your new journal. If you are not looking to spend any money, you might have a notebook that maybe your kids didn't use from the school year, or just, maybe there's a chunk of pages behind a notebook from work that you just, it's sitting around. You can use that. Use whatever works for you, but just make it something where, again, you like it, you're going to want to pick it up. Another thing too is a pen. Get yourself a good pen. Kind of like a cup of coffee. I don't know about you guys or if you like to drink tea, but when you have your cup of coffee or your tea in the mug, like your favorite mug, I know some of you are probably nodding right now, but when you get to drink your coffee or tea out of your favorite mug, doesn't it just taste like a little bit better, right? Like just a little bit. That's kind of how I feel about writing with a good pen. Some of us have like our favorite pen. I do. And so when I journal, I use that pen and my notebook. I'm good to go. Simple, but it's true. Another thing is with journaling, get yourself in a quiet space and place. For me, it's when nobody's in the house and I have a couple minutes before my day starts to get hectic and the phone starts ringing and all the things start happening. I get sometimes 15, 20 minutes in there, and that's really all I need. I take that little window if I need it. If I don't need to journal, I don't. Don't feel the pressure. Don't feel compelled. That's another important part of journaling. You use it when you need to. You don't always have to do it. It does not have to be a daily thing or another thing on your to-do list. It shouldn't be. It should be more therapeutic, and it should serve you instead of it feeling like a daunting task that you have to get done before you can get on with the next thing. Don't do that to yourself. Not worth it. Okay, so let's talk about some writing prompts. What do you write about? So we've got the notebook, we've got the pen, and maybe you're choosing a fun ink color, whatever you're going to do. Now you've got your quiet space in place. What do we write? Where do we start? Well, everyone's a little bit different with this. So find, again, what works for you. I think I say that phrase a lot. But for me, I like to just write the first thoughts that are kind of on my mind. Sometimes I write about how I slept and how I feel, wow, I'm really tired, I'm dragging. But here's what I have to look forward to for the day, or here's what I'm looking forward to for the week. I tend to write a lot of gratitude lists, things I'm looking forward to. I know there are gratitude journals, and you can certainly go out and buy yourself one of those, as they're a little bit more, like almost like a tutorial. Like they kind of walk you through, okay, let's think of 5 things you're grateful for, and what's today going to look like, etc. But if you don't have that, or you don't want to purchase necessarily a specific gratitude journal, you can take that blank piece of paper and do the same exact thing. Think about in the next 2 days, or even 5 days, week, month, what are some things you're looking forward to? It could be simple things. Maybe you have a friend visiting from out of town who you're really excited to see. Maybe you have a date night with your partner and it's been a while and you're super excited. Maybe you're going to go out and try that new restaurant in town that you've been meaning to get to. Maybe you just have a couple nights to yourself and you're really excited for that. I get it. Whatever it is that you're looking forward to, make a list and try to make as many things that you can. Add as many as you can to that list. You might find you can easily write down 5 things. You might find it's 25 things. It's just a nice way to get the positives flowing in your brain. And again, you don't even have to do this. This is just a suggestion. I mentioned earlier about how when it came to needing to process something that I was going through, that I would pick up the phone and call a friend or a family member. When I'm going through something, I also turn to my journal to think it out. So that's something else that you can write about. If there's something that you're going through or you're trying to heal from, and you just need to give it a little bit more thought, maybe a little bit more time, go to the journal, write it out. What's going on? How are you feeling about that thing? How is it affecting the other person if there's somebody else involved? What do you see as a potential outcome? How can you move on from that situation? What do you need to move on from that situation? So just some ideas. Other things to do too, just go to Google and just type in journal prompts and you will get so many ideas. That's also another place to start. You might just find that as you journal, you kind of have a pattern as to what you talk about, what you write about. When I say talk, what you write about, and you'll just kind of have your own flow. And again, do it as you feel is necessary. Another thing I want to share about the journal, kind of like the diary, it's private. It's for you, and chances are your eyes only. Keep it in a safe place because this is, your personal, deep, dark thoughts. And they might not be dark, but they just might be deep thoughts, and they are personal and private. So do not feel this should be your outlet. It is not something that you're going to necessarily share with other people. Keep it in a safe place in your home that's not easily accessible by maybe children who can read or whatever. And again, it's not that we're trying to be hidden or anything, but again, there are certain things you are allowed, of course, to be private about. And as you're working through something, there's nothing wrong with having a space to put those thoughts and keep them to yourself. So all of that said, I hope that when you get started with your journal journey, that these have inspired you as to what to write and kind of how to get started. And again, I really think you'll enjoy it. And I'd love to hear in the comments below if you are about to get started and how it's going for you. Let me know. So thanks so much for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again for joining me today. If this episode has helped you or can help someone you know, please share it with them. Stay safe, and we'll chat again soon.